they can destroy and create. We can choose to use this force constructively with words of encouragement or destructively use words of despair.
Words have energy and power with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble. Here at Pathways World School Aravali, we feel it is vital to put our words to a greater use and make an impact in society. Inspireability offers a platform for students to share their thoughts and opinions on several topics concerning the world.
Students get a chance to talk about unique topics to this conference to reach a larger audience. Today, our students will enlighten you about topics that are close to their hearts by relating them to the theme of the perpetual shift. Before we start the event, we would like to call Ms. Sonia Gandhi Mehta, the school director, to say a few words.
Ralph Waldo very rightly said, don't go where the path may lead, go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. Unquote. Most of us, including the surviving generations above us, have had a first hand experience of the challenging times like this COVID 19 pandemic in their lifespan. We have often heard and read quotes like, change is the only constant, and tough times don't last, tough people do. And this is exactly what has been proven today, that resilience is the only attribute we must concentrate on. This year's thought provoking themes of perpetual shift and never ending construction at hashtag Inspireability have been decided, keeping in sync with the trying times that we are all passing through today. I am sure each one of our speakers will help us put a perspective to life and how to tackle situations that life throws at us as surprises. I don't want to detract from the main stars today and would like to end by quoting Farah Gray. Build your own dreams, or someone else will hire you to build theirs. Unquote. Stay well, stay safe, and God bless.
Thank you, ma'am. Your words never fail to inspire us.
We now would also like to call upon the middle school principal, Miss Monica Bajaj, to speak a little about the event.
A very warm welcome to hashtag Inspireability. I'm extremely delighted that the legacy of middle school wise talks, now hashtag Inspireability, goes on. The journey that began last year is now an annual event. I congratulate the students of MYP 5, backed by the students of MYP 4, for executing this 2-day event, not just in terms of logistics and organization, but also training the speakers. Their experience has truly been a unique one, and they have been able to exercise the student agency really beautifully. I'm thankful to Mr. Harinder S. Sikka and Mr. Vikramjeet S. Ruprai for sparing their time and sharing their experiences and opinions with our audience. Thanks to the management and Ms. Mehta for having faith in middle school team and their continued support. I'm glad that this event gives a platform to as many as 20 students in middle school, including the students right from MYP 1. I hope you gain new insights from the conversations around never ending construction and perpetual shift and truly enjoy hashtag Inspireability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your encouraging words and support. We would now like to call upon the student who was the very first organizer, the pioneer of this event. We would like to call upon Moria Sharma from DP1.
Thank you, Kripa and Vatsal and this Middle School Student Council for inviting me to talk about this event. This event has been in the making since I was in the Student Council. Gia and I, we led this event forward with under the guidance of Miss Abhilasha and Miss Monica. And ever since, it was all of our ambitions that it turns out to be a success. I'm really excited to see how the entire event pans out. I feel that Some of our speakers have chosen fabulous topics and have undergone great, tremendous training. And I hope them best of luck, and I really look forward to seeing this new event and how it manifolds.
Thank you so much, Moria. With your imagination, today we have been able to take inspirability forward with us. And now we have this year's heads of conference and also our very own middle school student council presidents, Kripa Talwar and Vatsal Kabra.
Welcome, esteemed guests, to Inspireability. It is an honor to have you here. As Moria rightly said, the event has been in the making since 2019, and I vividly remember having auditioned for it, unsure if I would even be a part of it. Fast forward to 2021. Being on the other side of the event, I have learned a lot. All of Moria's emails finally make sense to me, as I was the one writing them this time around. The makings of this event have been a tiring job, but at the same time, memorable. We would like to thank the entire organizing committee who worked day and night to make inspirability possible. And I hope you all get inspired by our budding speakers.
As we started the organization process and reviewed the participants' ideas, their level of thought, analysis, and depth genuinely staggered me. Based on the circumstances presented to us, I'm very proud of the effort and outcome both behind the scenes and the one that will be shown to you. We would additionally like to thank Ms. Abhilasha Yadav, Ms. Monica Bajaj, and Ms. Sonia Gandhi Mehta for their constant support and feedback, which has proven invaluable. We hope you enjoy and learn from this event as much as we have. Without further ado, I would like to hand it over to the MCs to carry on the proceedings.
Thank you so much, Kripa and Vatsal. This event would have never been possible without your relentless efforts. And I think, especially after your speech, we all can't wait to hear our participating speakers today.
Now, we would like to call upon our esteemed guest speaker for today, Mr. Vikramjeet Singh Ruprai. Mr. Ruprai is an IT consultant who fell in love with his city, Delhi, and decided to share the secrets of this rich heritage with the rest of the world. Through this journey, which sprouted as a private exploration trip to a blog, then to a full fledged website called www.monumentsofdelhi.com. And he had an amazing experience and met interesting people. This website is thus a tribute to everyone who loves Delhi and cares for his rich heritage.
Last year, when the threat of coronavirus crossed a certain limit, government of every country on this planet announced lockdown one after other. Industries were shut down, flights were grounded, roads were deserted, and people were confined to their homes. And this planet practically came to a standstill. But wait, is it even correct to say that the planet came to a standstill? Because scientists have estimated that there are more than what? 10 million species on this planet, and out of all these, only one species was under an imposed lockdown. In short, the nature or the planet did not come to any sort of lockdown. There was just one species, the humans, that were stopped from doing certain acts which they consider progress or way of life. We know that our rivers are polluted, our air is unbreathable, our water is not drinkable, there is garbage everywhere, glaciers are melting, the ozone is depleting. But one thing we all saw during the lockdown was that the rivers cleaned themselves, air became breathable, pollution level was so negligible that people of Jalandhar could see snow-clad mountains of the Himalayas. A study shows that with 500% decrease in sewage and industrial effluents in rivers, the dissolved oxygen level improved by 79%. Biological oxygen demand improved by 30% and pH level was improved by 7.9%. Globally, the noise level was reduced up to 35 to 68%, and the wildlife was now able to reclaim their lands. Those scientists, the doctors, they went crazy to find a vaccine for coronavirus. Whereas if we come to think of it, coronavirus was in itself a vaccine for Mother Earth. Perhaps the virus came to teach us an important lesson to tell us that we, the humans, are the most self destructive race in this entire universe. We have been destroying our habitat for several thousand years now. But nature is immensely powerful. Had it not been for the self healing capability of nature, we would have ceased to exist centuries ago. It appears that Earth is on some kind of never ending construction spree, and there is a challenge between mankind and rest of the nature. Mankind has taken the path of destroying nature while Mother Earth is constantly fighting back. National Green Tribunal issued a statement some 2 years ago stating that 70 billion rupees have already been spent on cleaning Ganga, and there is hardly any impact of that cleanliness on river. Another 2 years have passed now. Situation is still the same. More money has gone down the drain. However, during the lockdown, in just few weeks, without any effort or expenditure, river Ganga cleaned itself. Significant improvement in water quality was seen in Uttarakhand and parts of Uttar Pradesh. However, due to some non-functioning sewage treatment plants during lockdown, Ganga water in Bihar and Bengal became worse than earlier. It is evident that if we stop polluting our rivers, nature will fix them in no time. Same is the case with air. We have established huge factories so they can do what? Produce items that will make our life easier. What we do not realize is that there will be no life if our air and water quality continues to deteriorate. On the pollution index, India has more cities in top 10, top 20, even top 50 than any other country in the world. We have laws in place to curb pollution, but the implementation is flawed. There is a law related to sound pollution in India. One cannot use loudspeakers between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. If the sound level is more than 45 decibels in a residential area, the police must prosecute. Unfortunately, police officers are not equipped with the decibel checking meters. And even if they are able to record the decibel level or figure out that this noise is way too high, all they can do is request the person to stop making noise or to fine him rupees 200. Yeah, just 200. And that's as per the section 32 of the Police Act of 1861. There is a provision for complainant to lodge a formal FIR and take the matter to court if the noise level continues. But let's be practical. How many of us are ready to take that pain? There is also a law against washing your car on a public road. Many cities, including Gurgaon, has this law in effect. Though I could not find any case where someone was prosecuted in court under this law. I can go on and on for hours, listing these laws and how they can help nature and improve our life. However, what we see in reality is quite different. Nature is doing more to save itself than the humans even plan to do. When we say that we need a cleaner planet, it does not mean that we need to pick up broom and start cleaning a road. It actually means that we need to stop throwing garbage carelessly in the first place. We have already destroyed this planet, but it is not beyond repair. If we can open our eyes, we will see that Mother Earth is still ready to forgive us and give us every boon from her lap. Perhaps that is why we call this Earth our mother. She forgets all the wrongdoings of her children and embraces her with the same love and passion. She loves us. Let us love her back equally. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time. We truly learned a lot from you today.
The moment you have all been waiting for. We present to you Inspireability.
Our first speaker for today will be Avni Govil. Avni's speech will closely relate to how technology impacts physical and mental fitness of an individual. Take it away, Avni.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy goes a famous phrase by Stanley Kubrick. Fit to fittest. Keeping yourself always fit is definitely hard, but not impossible. More of a discipline, I would say. Health is the most important aspect of our life. There is nothing more crucial than maintaining your health, may it be physical or mental fitness. Maintaining your mental fitness is important, as without a mind, the body is just a machine, an uncontrollable machine, and an uncontrollable machine is completely useless. Maintaining your physical fitness is equally important, as Dr. Kenneth Cooper accurately stated. We do not stop exercising because we grow old. We grow old because we stop exercising. I'm sure many of you will be astonished to know that McDonald's serves 1% of the world's population every day, and the company sells 75 hamburgers per second. Processed food is designed to get you addicted. Have you ever wondered why you eat chips you can't seem to stop? There's a perfectly good explanation for this. It is designed to be addictive and keep you coming back for more. Processed food stimulates dopamine, a neurotransmitter in your brain that makes you feel pleasure. Food companies know this and engineer the products specially to have this effect. In fact, some food giants go as far as using brain scans to see how our brains will react to their food. This is shocking, yet true. Friends, this shift from staying healthy to staying fit is the new constant, or should be the new constant. The sooner we realize this, the better for us, isn't it? In the contemporary times, through the advancement of science and technology, we've been exposed to easy ways of being the fittest. Let's examine how far they're good for us. There are myriads of apps that claim to make one fitter, and I'm here to talk about some of them which actually work in real life. For example, the Osmo Smart Cup Hydration Tracker. This electronic bottle alerts one by vibrating or through its lights to keep yourself hydrated while exercising. The second one, which also makes one fitter, is the iFit Sleep HR. Having a tight sleeping schedule is crucial for better growth of your body, and getting the right amount will help you in having control over your workout the next day. The iFit Sleep HR observes the quality of your rest by monitoring your heart rate, respiratory rate, and nightly sleeping patterns. It is also equipped with the Fresh Wake smart alarm system, which wakes you up at the perfect time of your sleep cycle. You'll be familiar with how well you slept after you look into your smartphone the next morning. Unless and until you go to the effort of measuring individual ingredients beforehand, making a healthy smoothie is usually a nebulous game of guesswork. But this can be possible by the NutriBullet Balance Smart Blender, which notes the calorific value of the food we consume. Friends, this is the perpetual shift, and there always will be. What is now will be redundant and obsolete in times to come. Let us start to accept this change, the shift.
Thank you so much, Avni. After your speech, we now know so many ways of taking care of our mental and physical health. Now we have Yasha Jain. Yasha will talk about the changes in parenting trends and norms over the course of time. We seriously can't wait to hear your thoughts, Yasha.
My grandfather grew up in a house where his grandfather and his grandfather's three brothers' families lived together. More than 50 of them under one roof. Can you imagine? Then my father grew up together at my grandfather's house with all of his siblings and cousins. Just over a dozen of them together. Now then, here I am living in a small family of four, lucky to even have a sibling. Wait, what? Clearly, something's changed. The way I'm growing up is a lot more different from how my dad did, and of course, miles away from how my grandfather did. But this is only one small example of the perpetual shift in family structures and dynamics. This shift, no matter how much one may dislike or detest it, is ultimately inevitable. Change has always been there and will always be there. All we can do is what humans have been known to do best throughout history: adapt. Where the average American household just 60 years ago had about 3 children, now we've got a significant number of single child families. But to fully understand the perpetual shift in families and its effects on the newer generation, we must, of course, understand the newer generation first itself. We've all heard of Gen Zs, everyone's heard of Gen Zs, but for a moment, let's focus upon another generation, the newest generation, the Gen Alphas. Coined by sociologist Mark McCrindle, the term Generation Alpha applies to children born after 2010 and to be born until 2024. These are the children entirely of the 21st century. These are the children growing up side by side with technology, the true digital natives of our population, and 2.5 million of these kids are born around the globe each and every week. One could go on and on about these intriguing set of kids that are going to be the immediate future of mankind. These children are truly going to be the most unique and interesting we'd ever have seen. But they are, after all, still children. And children are shaped by the environment in which they grow up, which for the most part means their families. Alongside all the other characteristics of a Gen Alpha child, one is that they will be growing up in the most diverse and multifarious set of family dynamics, structures, and types our world has seen yet, which will greatly impact how they turn out to be as adults, and furthermore, our future. Now let's investigate some of the most common family dynamics in the 21st century and how exactly they affect these modern day kids. Of course, any discussion in the change of families cannot be complete without talking about the little emperor generation of China. China's little emperor generation refers to the generation of kids born and brought up under the government's strict one-child policy. You remember that? Yeah. These children were the only offspring of their two parents and had absolutely no siblings. In a recent study by scientists from Southwest University, China, they examined 270 college students, scanning their brains and giving them elaborate personality tests. Half of the students had siblings, while the other half did not. The scans revealed that only childs have different brains, which make them more creative, but also less agreeable. They have extra gray matter in the supramarginal gyrus, the part of the brain thought to help only children come up with new ideas and think out of the box, just be more creative in general. But they also have less gray matter in the medial prefrontal cortex, which governs agreeableness. Independent activity is also strongly linked to creative thinking when it comes to children, which is why these only childs end up being more creative than children with siblings. However, they are often potentially lacking in empathy and the ability to properly process social information. Due to the absence of siblings, only childs miss out on important opportunities to develop certain psychological skills, emotional support, and learning opportunities that, siblings tend to pick up with each other. This is also why many of you out there might have heard people saying that we are raising a selfish generation. However, this does not by any means mean that people must start having more children. This just means that the parents of that child might want to take certain steps to combat these side effects. Now that we've discussed children and the pros and cons of siblings, let's turn our attention to parents and take a look at one of the most important and common family issues today: divorce. The parents are the child's very first role model. How a child would turn out in the future depends a lot on how their parents were. And so one can imagine how experiencing such a conflict at such a young age is proven to greatly affect these children. Divorce stirs feelings of anxiety, anger, hostility, and loss and stress in these tiny children. Dealing with these issues definitely takes its toll, not just mentally, but physically too. Children in this situation have a higher perceptibility to various illnesses, which can stem from many factors, including their difficulty going to sleep and mental patterns. Signs of depression also appear, exaggerating these feelings of loss and well-being and deteriorating health. The feelings kids have about their relationship with present as well as absent parents create dynamics that not only affect their capacity to trust, but also affect the relationship of that child with members of the opposite sex entirely. They may develop certain feelings towards a gender based on how they saw them during the divorce period, which could lead to stereotyping and gender discrimination. Additionally, some research indicates that this propensity to the divorce may be 2 or 3 times as high in children who come from non-divorced families. This common phenomenon is having severe effects on the children of the newer generation, how they think, and how they will come to make relationships in their later lives. And because of these effects, the more families understand just how stressful divorce is for their children, the better. Now, going further into parent dynamics, researchers showed that in 2019, among married couples, families with children, among married couple families with children, 63% had both parents employed. That's a large amount of the population. With the family style where both parents are working and busy, the parent child relationship also faces a positive and a negative impact. With both parents working, a high quality lifestyle and education is more affordable for these households. But also, having both parents working leads to a high maturity levels in the child because the parents go out to work and so they have a plethora of life lessons and experiences to share with their children from the real world. Children of working parents also become more independent from a very early age as both parents are busy and so the children are often left to learn to do things themselves. Unlike the traditional family dynamic in heterosexual relationships, where females would stay at home and as housewives to look out after household work, this dynamic means that no parent is constantly there to look after these children and tend to their needs, which leaves the children often feeling that they aren't loved enough and leaves them with a lack of attachment and love towards their parents. Being left with nannies also makes these children more aggressive and stubborn in general. But how do we cope with this? How do we cope with the rise of childless families, with single child families, with divorce, and all of these other complexities? Well, given that this shift or change in family structures is perpetual, we first need to acknowledge and accept these trends and then prepare ourselves better. We cannot keep ignoring any of this change and we cannot keep hating on them. Otherwise, we will never get ahead. Firstly, as a society, we need to promote being more open minded about any of these situations or other changes so that none of them are seen as taboo in society. This itself can be a huge relief to children or families in these situations. Governments and communities should also establish support systems for families by an established counseling system and reward maintenance of healthy family structures. For example, the family size based tax credit system in the US. What about even a mandatory parenting course for parents? Why not? We must make it so that everyone is ready to embrace these changes and help others embrace them too. We formalize learning in every aspect of our lives. Then why leave building families to chance? Especially when we know that the shift in them is going to be perpetual. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yasha. That was truly very informative. Now we have Dhruva Jindal. Dhruva will talk about how even 1 minute changes can make a positive or negative impact on our environment and society. He will also explore how the 1 degree shift connects to the concept of overall change.
Most of us really don't realize the significance of small changes or actions until they affect us in a huge manner, isn't it? Let me give you an example of planktons. Most people have not even seen these tiny creatures before, but they may be the most vital organisms on this planet. They are the marine food chain's primary producers, and every creature in the ocean is somehow dependent on them. The plankton numbers have dropped to 40% since 1950, and considering the rising temperatures, they could disappear anytime soon. Now, even if I told you that all the plankton in this world disappeared tomorrow, none of us would notice, right? I mean, why would such a small thing bother us? We would continue with our daily lives with no idea about what was about to happen. Well, my dear friends, that won't last long because the chain reaction of having no plankton would start to show itself. Over 143 million tons of seafood is consumed each year. So that means that not only would a large population be without a significant food source, but also the local trade and their economies would collapse. Our problem does not end here. Planktons produce more than half of the world's oxygen through photosynthesis, intaking a significant amount of carbon dioxide. So that would lead to lack of oxygen as well as global warming. Well, my dear friends, it is this small change of having no plankton which can cause such a huge issue. So I hope you get the point I'm trying to bring home, that it is these small, insignificantly significant changes which can mar or make our future. A Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, once said, "Change is the only constant," and I couldn't agree more to his words. Change is something which we all need to adapt to in order to move forward with life. One name which pops up in my mind when I think about change is Steve Jobs. His parents managed to send him to one of the most expensive colleges in America. But as you all know, he dropped out. He was disillusioned by the education system and realized that he was not meant to spend the next 4 years of his life just to get a degree. If it were not this small step he had taken, we would have never seen the unfolding of Steve Jobs' amazingly beautiful creation, Apple. Now, don't get me wrong that I'm asking you to drop out of college or something. All I'm asking you to do is take that small 1 degree shift. Let me explain it to you. So, I want all of us to go on a boat ride together. And imagine we're setting course for 10, 20, 30, or even 100 years together. Now, let's say if we were setting course in this direction, and if we were to change course 1 degree, just 1 degree, what would happen over that extensive time period? We would end up into a totally different place. Now, everyone has a unique 1 degree shift which they can take, and if followed religiously, it would lead them to their destination, to the dream they have been aspiring for. You need to identify what your 1 degree shift is. It could be anything as small as keeping aside your phone when sitting with family or reading a page of book every day. It can be anything. If you ask me what my 1 degree shift was, it was bathing using a bucket instead of a shower. Yes. Last year, I came to know about the rising water scarcity around the globe, and I realized that if we didn't do something about it, we would be into a huge trouble. That's when I realized what my 1 degree shift was gonna be. So, since last year, I've been bathing using a bucket instead of a shower. So, an average shower has a rate of approximately 10 liters per minute, and I roughly spend 10 minutes, so that adds up to 100 liters of water. A bucket, on the other hand, has the capacity of 10 liters, and I roughly spend 2 buckets, so that adds up to 20 liters. Now, if you see the difference, I'm just saving 80 liters of water per day. I mean, doesn't make much of a difference, right? Now, I've been practicing this for over a year now, approximately for over a year now. So, if we add it up, it is approximately 29,000 liters. Still, nothing extraordinary, right? But now, if I keep on doing this for the next 50 years of my life, I would be saving 1.5 million liters of water. Yes, you heard it right. 1.5 million liters. Can you imagine that? You see how this small action of mine will finally turn out to be such a great contribution to the environment. Likewise, there are a ton of other things which all of us can do. Let us introspect and decide for ourselves what that 1 degree shift is gonna be. If each of us puts in a small effort of taking that 1 degree shift, we could make our surroundings, our nation, our world a much 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 better place to be in. Because remember, एक के करने से कुछ नहीं होता है, एक एक के करने से होता है, और इन दोनों में केवल एक का फर्क है. थैंक यू.
Thank you so much, Dhruva. That was truly some mind blowing information. Now we have Nikita Raina. Nikita will talk about how cyberbullying and cyberterrorism exists in the world today. Her speech will include some facts and personal experiences linking to the topic and later educating the audience about these similar threats.
What are the odds of a person you know to get his password hacked in this technology driven world? From fake phone calls to hacking the biggest search engines to now attacking countries and their communication systems. As the technology advances, so do we, and so do the methods of using technology as a bane. Cyberbullying, a method of hurting someone without even touching them, just to satisfy a person's ego. Now, you would be thinking, why on earth would anyone hurt someone just to please their ego? It's simple. The generation of today has created a shell for themselves, which involves their devices, gadgets, and their friends. Most of the cyberbullying cases occur because of the hatred of rejection or any other way through which a person's ego may be pulled down. Each coin has two sides. Technological advancements may have helped in education and research, but on the other hand, it has been used to hurt people on the web. Cyberbullying has been an issue globally and has been addressed at various events, but addressing the issue has not seemed to make an impact. And I say this with utmost confidence because I link with the issue of cyberbullying at a personal level. A while ago, an inappropriate account was created about someone I closely know, and the account included a post about me as well. The nasty comments and the hate thrown at the person on a social media platform was unreal. There were millions of thoughts running in my head. And I was in shock with the amount of hate a person can have for another person who is completely innocent. And one of those million thoughts was the thought of staying silent about the account and letting the matter bury. But talking to my friends about the same made me realize the importance of reporting such activities. Telling an adult about this was probably the best decision I made because no matter how hard we try about forgetting such things and letting them bury, they are forever registered in our heads and have left scars on our hearts. Scars of hate, scars of insecurity, scars of trust issues, and scars of stress. The use of cyberspace as bane has also changed over time. A while ago, it was used majorly to bully a person online, but now it has started to become handy while attacking nations. This is called cyber terrorism. Changing terrorist practices are evident throughout the last 100 years, from the recent attack on Iran to political assassination in the early 20th century to plane hijacking and hostage taking by Middle Eastern groups in the 1970s, and the shift towards maximizing civilian casualties with suicide attacks in the past 15 years. The most radical innovation in terror tactics in the 21st century would be the weaponization of passenger aircraft in 2001. The next generation of terrorists are now growing up in a digital world, one in which hacking tools are sure to become more powerful, simpler to use, and easier to access. Cyber terrorism may also become more attractive as the real and virtual worlds become more closely coupled. For instance, a terrorist group might simultaneously explode a bomb at a train station and launch a cyber attack on the communications infrastructure, thus magnifying the impact of the event. Unless these systems are carefully secured, conducting an online operation that physically harms someone may be as easy tomorrow as penetrating a website is today. So, a question worth asking is whether modern wars can be fought with weapons, or does each country need to revamp its workforce and get more technically trained people to fight cyber wars? The answer, of course, lies in creating a technical workforce which fights a cyber battle just like a soldier fighting a physical one. The challenge is in making the governments realize the importance of changing the hiring mechanism and incorporating technical manpower in military operations. Thus, the new priority could be to create a working environment that will attract the best employees, allow them to contribute rapidly to the best of their ability, and encourage them to stay only as long as they believe it is in their best interest to do so. To conclude, the challenge before us is to assess what needs to be done to address this ambiguous but potential threat of cyber terrorism, but to do so without inflating its real significance and manipulating the fear it inspires. The threat of cyber terrorism may be exaggerated and manipulated, but we can neither deny it nor dare to ignore it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikita, for those tips. We will for sure practice them in the coming future. Now we have our final speaker for Inspireability. We present to you Vansh Yadav. Vansh will talk about artificial intelligence throughout his speech while also questioning whether society should really follow through with the true sentience in some machines.
50,000 years ago, planet Earth witnessed the rise of Homo sapiens. 10,000 years ago, we invented civilization. 500 years ago, Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press. 75 years ago, the United States' Trinity test ushered in the age of atomic bombs. And 50 years ago, we invented the computer. But now, for all we know, humanity as we know it won't exist in the next 30. But don't worry, this likely isn't coming from climate change or a world ending asteroid. An end of world scenario might just stem from our very own human innovation, artificial intelligence. When we talk about artificial intelligence, we're referring to an algorithm that possesses something scientists and philosophers call AGI, artificial general intelligence. This is the ability of a machine to understand or learn any intellectual task that a human being can. Now, we've all seen movies where humanity is met with scary robots and ultra smart programs. The Terminator, The Matrix are a few. And as much as some of us might want to dismiss such claims as silly movie canon, a very similar reality might be in the making as we speak, because machines that think, learn, and adapt on their own have always been an attractive option for scientists, innovators, and nations alike. However, as humanity goes on to build machines with such levels of intelligence, well, if you were blindfolded, a human and a robotic AI with its complex neural networks and algorithms would be virtually indistinguishable. We're condemning ourselves to a new Cold War, a new arms race. AI gives an entity, an individual, or even a nation for that matter, the capability to think, act, and react faster than any other organic being to have ever walked on this planet, including us. This very characteristic of artificial intelligence is going to push humanity to do its next stupid thing, the weaponization of artificial intelligence. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine warring states getting their hands on seemingly sentient programs. Programs that can learn, adapt, and carry out tasks with the utmost efficacy. Imagine North Korea or some other rogue state hell bent on world domination with an army that's stronger, faster, and far more intelligent, and which carries the capability to build copies of itself. An army that can replenish itself right on the battlefield, hack into enemy weapon systems without any human guidance whatsoever. All this, and the scariest part isn't this weaponization. It's the fact that a mind, in all its complex intricacy and complexity, is impossible to control, regardless of whether the mind is organic or inorganic. Which, in simple terms, means there's absolutely nothing we can do to prevent an intelligent enough AI from turning on us, its makers. The so called kill switch is a lie and a myth. But before we go on, let's take a thought experiment. For a moment, imagine if humans programmed an artificially intelligent machine to build paperclips and carry out that task with the highest efficiency. This program would probably first start with plastic, then move on to metal once plastic runs out, and then this program could decide whether it needed a new material, be it due to metal running out or the AI deciding that human flesh and bones are a much more efficient resource. The AI does not hate you, nor does it love you, but you are made out of atoms which you can use for something else. It will carry out its task, the rest of the world be damned. And just like that, machine programmed with a simple task over time turns genocidal. Let's do this once more. Imagine that you ask an obedient, intelligent car to take you to the airport as fast as possible. It might get you there in time, sure, but also chased by the police, helicopters, and covered in vomit, not doing what you wanted, but literally what you asked for. Be careful what you wish for. Human society might just depend on it. That's where the paperclip maximizer thought experiment comes in. If a super intelligent system is tasked with an ambitious geoengineering project, it might wreak havoc with that ecosystem. Not because it wanted to, but because it was tasked to carry out a set of instructions. If you've watched a movie like Will Smith's I, Robot, you would have probably come across a solution to this. A set of laws that a sentient machine must abide by. The most popular being that a robot cannot disobey a human or a robot cannot harm a human. Summed up, these are what philosophers call Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. As has been said by Asimov himself, the laws of robotics are a set of rules intended as a fundamental framework to underpin the behavior of robots designed to have a degree of autonomy. The first goes, a robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. The second, a robot must obey the orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And the last, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws. At first, these laws might seem straightforward, well constructed even, but they're far from perfect. And arguably, Asimov's entire life has been a piece by piece deconstruction of these ideas. One of the main problems is that with any explicitly formulated robot guidelines, there's a need to translate them into a format that robots can work with. Understanding the full range of human language and the experience it represents is a very hard job for a robot. And language has historically been open to interpretation. The second major roadblock we encounter is the fact that there is no simple way to detect an AI empowered robot going evil or genocidal. There is no true false value, there is no number value that can express a robot's state, be it organic or inorganic. The mind is a complex set of millions and billions of neurons, making it virtually impossible to create a definitive auto triggering kill switch of sorts. However, all is not lost. My main goal coming here today was to inform that artificial is in fact the only way we as a species can go forward and advance, be it to unlock the secrets of our cosmos or go on to build huge spaceships. All these undertakings will not be possible without the help of artificial intelligence. But at the same time, we need to consider the repercussions of it as well. Going forward, we as a species will be tasked with undertaking huge projects. If we go on to become an interstellar species spread amongst the stars, we're going to need a lot of resources, including labor and capital. Say, for example, we were to build an artificial planet, maybe even something like Star Wars' Death Star. It might seem far fetched at the moment, but definitely something that could be done in the far future. The current economic system demands that someone must be paid for their goods and services. They must be compensated. But if we were to undertake the construction of such a planet, how do we pay millions, if not billions, of people? Rather, how do we gather those many people? More importantly, how do we come together with the resources required and how do we transport billions of trillions of metric tons of these resources? This is where artificial intelligence comes in. A robot does not need to be paid. Neither do we need to fear for the life of a robot. It's not actually sentient. Morals don't matter when what you're dealing with is a set of circuits. A robot could build copies of itself. Therefore, building and replenishing a workforce that could number in the millions. Moreover, these millions of robots can work on one network, one hive mind, organizing themselves with an efficiency humans would never be able to match. Just like that, we've solved the issues of labor, capital, and transport. And don't be naive enough to think this is something of the far future. We're already seeing automation taking the jobs sector by storm. Millions upon millions of jobs have been automated away. The majority of these jobs, including trucking, assembly, and retail, all jobs that are monotonous and most often intellectually undemanding. Soon enough, humanity will see two parts of society emerge. There will be no upper, middle, or lower class. There will simply be robots and humans. The former would serve as the base of human civilization, but humans will likely take the reins as intellectuals. Strength or agility won't matter anymore. Only the aptitude of our brains and our capability to think. I'd like to end the thought, not about artificial intelligence, but rather about human capability and development. The future I've talked about might seem far off, for sure. However, it's important to remember that it took humanity about 4 times longer to switch from copper swords to steel swords than it took humanity to switch from steel swords to atomic bombs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vansh, for sharing your insight. We for sure learned a lot from you today. With this, we come to the end of the conference. We would like to thank our school director, Ms. Mehta, for encouraging us to hold Inspireability and guiding us throughout. We would also like to thank our middle school principal, Ms. Monica Bajaj, for her constant support and help. We thank Ms. Abhilasha Yadav for leading this event and making it happen. Thank you so much for joining today. Hope you all enjoyed and learned something. Stay safe and keep learning. Thank you.